I'm the head of content projects and innovation at GetYourGuide. And so basically, I'm here today because last year with Lilt, we made a big project that was a first for us, and I guess also a first for Lilt. So if you remember, if you're a Lilt addict, you may have seen already this case study that Lilt created. So it was about the first large-scale application of auto-adaptive machine translation. And so basically the project described in this 2 pages document is what happened at GetYourGuide. So I will explain you in more details what we did and how we did it. And yeah, and so basically, this is the summary of what happened in 2 pages. But I think that the real story has a little bit more of the twist and the essence on time and risk that we took for this project. So if I want to go into more details, I think the first thing is to present you the company I'm working with. So GetYourGuide. So basically, we're an online marketplace which allow customers to book tours and activities around the world. And if we look at all of our inventory, so we offer above 30,000 tours to our customers. We are available on desktop and on mobile web. We also have native apps which are used a lot at destination. And we are available in 14 different languages. So basically, our main focus at GetYourGuide is to make sure that our customers are having a great experience. And so we focus on quality. Quality in terms of a company includes a lot of things, and in terms of content, this means how we display and the quality of language that we have. So when you think from a customer point of view, what will stay in customers' mind, what they will talk about after their trip, it's not the flight, it's not their hotel room. They will mostly focus on their experiences and what they have seen, what they have visited. They will share the pictures of where they have been. So they are looking for attractions or for tours, for activities where they will be able to create these memories. And for that, we need a very good quality of content. So which in this case, quality means accuracy, but also the style. So accuracy for the trust part, but also the style for the inspiring part. We want them to feel that they want to buy and that they can experience already when they are buying, that they can imagine what they are going to do. So with all of these parameters, and knowing that we want to grow very fast, we are still in the startup or growth phase, we had to come up with a big project last year. And so basically, I received from my management, translate 5,000 tours, you have 2 weeks, which if we translate in terms of localization, translation was translate 1.7 million words of high visibility content, because that was about all the tours and experiences that we sell to our customers. And we need everything to be done in 2 weeks. That has been the first challenging part. So even with just this statement, you understand that it has been a very complex enterprise, both on the human side, because we needed to find resources that were available and resilient for all of that, but also on the technical side. We knew that with all of our technical background at GetYourGuide, plus the amount of work and the quality we needed, that was going to be a great challenge. So I received this opportunity, this challenging opportunity, and it was in April last year, so just after Easter, but that was also the time where most of our team members were on vacation. And so when I received that, my first instinct was to reach out to translation agencies. And so basically, I reached out to one of them, which is E2F Translations. They already helped us a lot in the past at GetYourGuide, and I also worked at E2F in a previous life. So basically, I trusted them, and anywhere I contacted a few different agencies, many of them told me that I was crazy, that it was never going to happen. That translated that amount of words with the level of quality we wanted in that short time frame was not manageable. And so basically, I also chose them for another reason, is that when I talked to them, they presented me an innovative solution. So basically, they told me, hey, Anne-Cécile, we do have a solution. We have never tried it so big. We have no idea, but it has very promising, we have very promising results, preliminary results, and we are sure it could be great. So, and they explained me what Lilt was about. So I'm not going here to explain you again what the Lilt machine, auto-adaptive machine learning and machine translation does. But basically for us, it was something very new, as well as Get Your Guide. But I immediately felt that it was a risk that I wanted to take, because first I didn't have much choice, let's be honest, but also I found that something that could adapt at the time and be trained on a systematic level and automatically was the only chance for me to complete successfully this project. So I agreed to that. And so what we did, the goal was to translate these pages. So basically, you see all of many tools, and so you see that you have some titles, that you have a lot of different information on the right side of the page, and so all of that needed to be translated into 6 different languages. So the way we did it, we first had why this project. So we first had um, an assumptions that we validated with some data. So on a business level, why did my management come to me and asking me this huge project in such a short amount of time? So basically, in tourism, for us, the high season starts in May. May or June, I mean, May is already big, June is bigger, July, August, and then it's over, basically. So most of our revenue comes from the high season. In early April, we decided to test some machine translation, and they did some tests to see the value of machine translation versus the value of manual translation. The hypothesis was manual translation gives better conversion rate. It was validated. We did some testing, so A/B testing and also other type of tests, and we showed customers machine translated tools. We showed customers manually translated tools, and guess what? They really converted a lot more, so they purchased a lot more tools when it was manually translated. This was no real surprise to me, but we needed, as Get Your Guide, since we're a data-driven company, we really needed to have data validation before we invested so much money and so much effort into this project. So once we realized that, we decided to quickly boost our inventory with high quality translation before the high season. So we consulted all the agencies that we had, which was E2F and Lilt. And so we gave them 6 languages. So 6 languages, which were German, French, Italian, Spanish, and Dutch. And so basically we asked them to translate 1.7 million words into these 6 languages. And we gave them a time frame of end of April, which at the beginning was a little bit more than 2 weeks, but we also had some back and forth on our side. So at the end, they only had 10 business days to work on that. So that's a total of 5,000 tools like the one displayed on the page. So on the technical side, and so on how we did it, basically E2F had a team of more than 100 linguists over the 10 days who delivered the 5,000 files in 12 days. So they worked on weekends, which is why we still made it to the 10 business days, because they added some extra days. And I'm going to explain you a little bit more how it worked. So basically, in my mind, that was super easy. Get Your Guide was sending the files to E2F. E2F and Lilt were translating, post-editing, and checking the character limitation, because we also have some parameters around that, and then they send us the files. We check, we upload, and that's it. Very easy, very straightforward. It's a no-brainer, 5 steps, easy. But then we realized that from the first step, it was not that easy. We had a lot of technical challenges. So basically, we realized that some of the files were very old on our website and needed to be rewritten in English. So we started all of this project from English, and some were in a very poor condition. So we first had to rewrite all of the English tools. We also decided that since we needed a little bit more time on this level, we decided to remove some parts on the files and of the files that we sent to E2F because there are some redundant content that we didn't need to be translated. We also needed to write a script to automatically download the files because at the moment, during that project, when we wanted to assign a tool, we had to download each tool manually. We had 5,000 tools to export and 5,000 tools to import, and that was going to be insane. And then we could actually send the files to E2F. So all of these steps, we had to do it between a Friday night. I remember Friday at 5:30 where I realized that the English files had to be rewritten. And we had to send the files to E2F on the Monday morning. So all of that, all of these scripts and rewriting of files and everything happened in one weekend, which even for a high-level, high-speed company was a big challenge. But we made it. Then, well, we just had 4 more straightforward points. But then, actually, we had a tiny issue. We didn't have any team for French in-house. So I had to contact a lot of my contacts who could help us with all of the quality check, who could help us a lot with the validation of the language. But then, as I mentioned earlier, some people were also on vacation. We approved some vacation before we decided to go into this big project. So, yeah, so on our side, that took a lot of ups and downs, but we managed it. And then, if we look at what happened on E2F side, so basically, it was easy. They had a project manager for each language, a developer who will help them work on all the technical issues. And then for each team, they had their project manager in-house. They had their linguist planned according to the volume that we wanted to give, and with their partners. And then on our side, while we had our linguist who was supposed to receive the files, that was very easy. It was obviously didn't happen as expected. So first, well, E2F didn't have a developer available at that time for when we needed one. Then we actually added German at a later stage. When I first pitched the project to E2F, German language was not included. So they prepared, they had 2-3 days to prepare a team, and there was no German team that we gave them. So what happened is that the CEO, Michel Lopez, has a background in engineering. So he did all the technical part by himself. He wrote the scripts, he developed hacks, he did that on himself. And for German, I'm not sure exactly how they could do it, but they managed to create a new team extremely quickly, so within 2-3 days. So that was amazing. And if we look more on a more detailed level on how it happened between E2F and LILT, so it sounds maybe a little bit more complicated from this graphic, but it was basically easy. They put the files go through a file preparation something, so a script or something. So basically they are converted to a translatable format. Then they apply all the LILT, the LILT magic. I usually say the LILT magic, which is the auto-adaptive machine learning. Then there is all the post-editing that's managed through project management. So the translators post-edit, do the final checks, make sure the character mutation is okay, and they deliver to us. Of course, it didn't happen like that. So basically, that was very complex to prepare the files. We gave them some Excel files. So each tour was an Excel file per language. So they have 5,000 Excel files to work on. The trick was, well, on this Excel file, not everything was to translate. So they had to separate the translatable content from the non-translatable content. That was not just a copy-paste or insert and transfer. So each file had also multiple tabs. So it added a lot of complexity. They needed to prepare all the different files, not necessarily the same for each tool, and not necessarily the same for each language. So that added some extra flavor, I would say. And of course, the files were in XLS format, so which was not really a format that was ready for translation. Another topic is that for the file checking, the character limitation, well, this is not character limitation on a segment level, but on a field level, which adds even more complexity. So this is not, okay, I just have a sentence and it needs to be 40 characters long. No, I have an entire field that explains a lot of different topics, and all of these fields, which is probably 30, 40 segments, need to all together not exceed this amount of characters. So that added also some complexity on their side because it was hard for them to automate all of this. And then, well, for Lilt, we added, there were some other technical issues, not issues, I would say, challenges, because it was also new for everyone. So on this level, I would say that I'm not too deep on the technical side. I just know that E2F and Lilt had to work on glossaries and all of that, and also make sure that the style was delivering what we wanted. And some of the example, I will come back to the linguistic example in just a second. So I'm basically, for project management, well, everything was done with Excel and Google Spreadsheet. So that was complex. The magic is also that Lilt didn't exist at the start of the project, never ran in Italian. So it means that we started from scratch and we had no idea about how the Lilt tool would behave in Italian. Spence created the Italian files, the Italian machine translation just for us. And it worked. The thing is also that they were working with Portuguese for Portugal tools and machine translation. They didn't really have the Brazilian one. But all of this with an extremely good team spirit, we all communicated together a lot. We also all trusted each other a lot, which was a very important part of this project. And so basically, Michel E2F developed some script and automated the file preparation. He also automated the file checking. He found a way to create it. He also made sure that all the filters were good. And then he organized something to automate as much as possible all the different steps. And for Italian, well, we created it and it worked. I'm the client. So E2F and Lilt worked on it. It went really well and the results were good. And for Portuguese, it was the most complex language. So basically they started the project by running the Portuguese translation memory and machine translation tool. And with since it's an auto-adaptive tool, the Brazilian Portuguese linguists were working on adapting the style, adapting the vocabulary, and they could fix it. But then in the middle of the project, something else happened. The project was so big for Lilt at that time. Again, this was the first company scale use of this technology. The servers of Lilt crashed. Spence was very reactive. Within a few, I don't know, minutes, hours, It seemed like days at that time for it to have, but then they could fix the servers. But it's just to show you that from the start, this was something new for everyone, and we ran into issues that we didn't even expect. But again, as you can see, we fixed all of the different, all of them, and we made it happen. So, and basically, we signed the Portuguese machine translation worked and transferred into a Brazilian one. So which shows the power of Lilt. It's really adapting to the style that you want it to have and to the entries that you give. So and if we look on the production and the productivity for all of this on the output level. So at the end, the German had some of the most volume at the end, even if it started very late. So they started with German. You can see that the first days we didn't have a lot of words produced, but that's because everyone was also fixing all the technical issues, but also all the automation, and we were settling in the project. And then you can see that there were a lot of words that were produced every day, up to 78,000, for example, a day for French, which is a lot. You can also see that Italian went up and down because they had also to, at some point, just since it was new, I think it took a little bit of time and then back up. And then the last days, it obviously goes down, but that's because there were less words to translate. And at the end, so since it was 2 full weeks, it included 2 weekends, and they actually delivered 2 days early. So on the productivity, that was extremely impressive. They also did some calculations that you can see on the case study that that Lilt has on their website. Some of the linguists were skyrocketing with their productivity. So then the question becomes, well, then how does it help the quality? The thing is, it created at the end, the quality was good. I will not say perfect, but that was not the point. The quality was good and very good. It had the quality of a human translation, for sure. And at the end, we spent so much time on the processes, which is why the start was slow, that it allowed us to generate some revenue. So, and if we look on the quality side, what do I mean by good quality? So I chose an example from English to German. So on the left side, you have the English, which was the source, and on the right side, you have the German, which is the raw output at the end of the project, of course, not at the beginning. So when the machine was more trained, so they could go faster to have the same level of quality or even higher quality. What you can see is that if you're German speaking, you can see that first, on the grammar level, it's good. You also have all the punctuation, it's all right. The location names, for example, the coconut grove, the coral gables, it could have been literally translated by something totally different. Just put the same results into a statistical machine translation without any training. I'm sure the results would be totally different. And then the meaning in general, it was flowing. So yeah, it was capturing all the main elements that were important to me. For me, it would have been a disaster if Miami Beach would have been translated with beach with the German word, or it would have been if coconut would have been translated. That would also have been very complex on my side because no customer would have understood what happened. They also, if you look at the 24 or 48-hour bus pass, they could the Lilt servers and the Lilt tool understood all of the meaning of the sentence that could have been translated in a very different level. So when you see the results, you can understand that it is very impressive. And so at that time, we delivered all the projects exactly as we wanted to. And we got the results that we wanted. We had all of the translations ready for the high season. It helped us grow a lot. And so even now, we are still talking a lot about what happened with Lilt. And so the question is now, we are 1 year after exactly, we are in April 2017. So what happened? So if we look at that, we know that GetYourGuide is growing very fast. I cannot give you exact numbers, obviously, but we are growing at a very high pace. And part of it, I'm not sure what's happening here, I'm sorry. I can't. Let me check. Well, I don't know how to remove this panel. Okay, so the problem is solved by itself. So basically, where was I? Yeah, so GetYourGuide is growing really fast on a revenue base. We are focused on growth. We want to have more growth in general, so more revenue. And content and localization is a big part of that. This is not the only one, of course, but with good content, we know that we can achieve good results. And so we are lucky at GetYourGuide to have localization at the center of the customer experience and at the center of growth. We also know that it is not the only way to work to get growth, but that's one of the big points. Another thing is we're really data driven. So when we take decisions, when we make decisions, this is based on data. Data means we are not going to translate or to push a lot on a project if we don't know that it's going to work. We need at least to have a very strong assumptions backed up by data on a small scale. I'm sorry, I'm not sure what's happening with this phone. So we also are very agile at GetYourGuide. So agile means on a company level, we seek opportunities, and when we have them, we prioritize them. And that's for the entire company. So if, for example, I push and I say I want a big translation project to happen, well, I need to prove the value. What is the value for the company? What is the value? Why should it be prioritized over another project that another team is working on? We do not have indefinite resources. We do not have all of that. We are focusing on what will drive growth for and drive customer experience to an excellent level. So knowing that, what happened at GetYourGuide with GetYourGuide and Lilt since then? So currently, we haven't implemented Lilt on our CMS or TMS at the moment. We know the value, and we still work with Lilt and E2F on project base like this one. Now we have a good speed and we are organized. But why did we not implement Lilt? Because Lilt is part of the solution. Lilt is part of, it brings us good quality. It brings us speed as well. Speed is very important. It brings us a lot. But we need a more holistic approach on our side. We need to change the way we translate, the way we approach the prioritization, and the way we define quality as well. So we have a few learnings from this experience from last year, and that we are still carrying now, and that are going to help us in the future. So basically, the first learning is that speed helps us win. We know that automation is the future, and the question is not, are we going to use tools like Lilt or machine translation? The question is just when. And the when is when we will be able to prove, since we are a data-driven company, when we will be able to prove and to have the quality performance curve match the company revenue curve. So when we refine the balance, and where is the balance? It's also taught us that data is extremely important, and it's more than perception. Last year, when I was approaching the topic of, we are going to use machine translation to have a good quality content over time, people looked at me like, no, machine translation cannot give you quality content. Well, we have E2F had tried Lilt at a small scale and had good results. There were some data points about that. We also saw the productivity and the quality output. So basically, the data over the perception, even for sensitive topics such as machine translation. It's also proved us that we need to look outside of our comfort zone and what we know. If I had looked at, so when we talk about data, it's not about what is the best practice. It's not, okay, so what does everyone do? What is the feedback about Lil from other companies? There was none. It was taking a risk, but it was looking outside of what we know on how we can help our customers have the best time, and that's by having as fast as possible some good quality translations. And Lilt gave us some of these answers. We also, something that we are still struggling with, which is also why we have not moved as fast as we wanted on the automation of our translation with Lilt. It's basically the quality of translation of localization is very hard to isolate in terms of revenue metrics from other factors. When you have a tool that is selling really well, is it because of the translation? Is it because of the availability? Is it because of the seasonality? Is it because of a specific event? Is it because of marketing campaigns? Is it because of many things? And since we are moving fast, we are running full speed on many different aspects. And the value, the exact value of translation is not easy to isolate, which can create some delay in taking some of the big decisions. And also the second biggest question is, where do we draw the threshold of the quality we want comparing to the revenue that it will bring us? This is also something, to which point is it going to bring us the balance, to follow the curve on the revenue side? So what type of content do we want to have only on machine translation? What type with post-editing? What type with a full manual translation from scratch? What type has to be copyrighted in which language? This is also something where this is part of the main holistic approach that we are working on, to make sure that we are giving our customers the best experience where we need to give them this experience. So, and basically, that's where we are at the moment. So, yeah, if you have any questions.
Great, thank you so much, Anne-Cécile. That was a really interesting look into the process of how you guys did that. It seemed like it was a pretty challenging project, so I'm glad that you got it done and that everyone was happy with the results. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, you can just type it into the chat box there and we will answer them. I do have one question for you. I know that in the beginning you had said that you knew going into this project that translation would lead to higher conversion rates. So
Yes.
I guess my question would be, were you able to see any higher conversion rates after the translations? I know you were uploaded to the site. I know you said that it's very hard to isolate this because you have so many other things going on. But did GetYourGuide see any growth in?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So it's hard to isolate. So we have seen a lot of growth. Now, is it only because of the translation? Is it 80% due to the translation? This is where we don't know. What we know is that the summer was very successful. And translation played a role into that. Is it the only factor? I doubt, but I can't tell you exactly the main, the proportion of what was because of the translation, because what you saw on all this translation project was one part of a big push that we did before the summer vacation, but that was not the only one. So it was an entire company effort, and for me, translation added a lot of value. into it, I cannot just give you an exact numbers or exact percentage of how much value it added. What I know is that, again, we are doing these projects on a regular basis now. So we know it adds value. It just, the hard part to isolate the value is exactly how much it adds.
Right, great. So we do have 2 questions here. So Elliot is asking, adaptive MT is based on interactivity between the TR and the MT system. This is how the system learns from the TR's corrections. This interactive loop was not obvious from your project schema slide. Was it present, and if so, where?
Yeah, so basically, if I go back a few slides, so me from a client perspective, I haven't worked very in detail into that. But if you look at here on the slide at the moment, so basically the Lille server were working on all of the technical aspects, and the translators were then so we're post-editing and we're updating at the same time, which was curating, I would say, which was curating the Lille auto-adaptive translation. So why did it work? It's because, as you may have seen, there were up to 25 translators at the same time on the project. So when the translators were working, one translator was working on a segment, was updating it. It was automatically updating the machine translation and the auto-adaptive machine translation from Lille, which means that the translator working next to this person for the segment after was already was already seeing the value of the correction made by the translator sitting next to them. So it has all of this collaborative environment. And I do not have a specific detailed example, but if you look at the teams of 20 linguists at the same time, we were able to produce a consistent result as well. And that's because they were constantly working on producing content and feeding back into the Lille tool. So it was adapting and updating on a second level. So second by second, you didn't have to manually update or to have something. So the online part, I don't have the Lille tool demo with me, but I assume that on this webinar, people were familiar with how Lille works. So I'm sorry, I should maybe have added another demo about that. So, but basically, it is catching and it is updating very quickly, and it's catching the style sentence after sentence.
Yeah, and that's a great explanation. Lil really is learning on the fly. So as the translators are translating and confirming those segments, that's getting saved to the I guess you would call it the MT system, the engine, and it's learning and adapting the translation output in the moment. So hopefully that yeah, you're welcome. All right, another question. Did you measure traffic growth as you added more multilingual content?
Yes, so of course, when we want to grow, we want more revenue. And one part of getting more revenue is getting more traffic. So the more people who come to your site, then the more people will buy. So we monitored that, and we also saw some increase, but that's not only due to the translation. So I think the question goes also in the sense of SEO and on ranking on search engine. Does it have an impact? So the thing is, it has an impact because it is creating translations that sound natural. So there is no bounce rate from people who arrive on the page. So they are interested, they book. So Google, of course, modifies how it's working, but the keywords are there, the structure is there, the natural feeling is there, and the people were booking more. So it also helped on the SEO side.
Great. So another question here. Was the editing experience later in the project better received than in the earlier part of the project?
I'm not sure I fully understand the question on this one. So all the post editing was done by the translation agency. All the translators who work there on the translation agency side loved to work on this project, first because it's marketing travel content, and because with Lilt they had a really high volume of production, so it was also very satisfying for them. In terms of our in-house team, I would say that well, at the beginning they had more feedback to give, but with time they saw that it was implementing, and that all the feedback that was given was actually taken into account, and that the quality was overall improving. So at the end, now if I talk about machine translation using Lilt, nobody is raising any eyebrow. They are more than happy to work on that.
Great. Another question, so is Lilt integratable with a TMS, WordBee, for example? So this is, I guess, maybe a question for Lilt. So we do have an API that integrates with TMS and other systems, but I definitely not a technical person, so I don't know much about that. But if you want to chat with us. Oh yeah, go ahead.
And so basically I checked because at that time I wanted to integrate it as fast as possible because I was super happy about it. So they can be integrated into most of them. So WordBee I think was, because I checked with WordBee and they told me it would be possible. I'm not sure if they have done it yet. But for them it was no problem as long as there is an API and that it's pretty standard, then there is no problem. It also works with XTM and with some other ones.
Great, I'm glad you know that. Yeah, so we do have an API that's available with our business platform. So yeah, but if you want more information on that, you can definitely chat with our developers on our website anytime. Great, any more questions? Okay, well, if you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to me and I can forward these questions along to Anne-Cécile. My email address, you probably have it from the webinar registration, but it's kelly@lilt.com. So just feel free to reach out. And thank you so much, Anne-Cécile, for presenting and sharing this information with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Great. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.